It was a stormy evening when James received the letter. He sat by the fire reading the day's newspaper when a loud knock echoed through his front door. He opened it to find a thick, old envelope lying on the doorstep, no return address or name on it. Inside was a single, chilling line of text. Come to Blackthorn Manor. Find the truth before it's too late. James had heard of Blackthorn Manor, a massive, decaying mansion at the edge of town. Everyone knew the place was cursed, empty for decades, with rumors of strange happenings and a tragic history. The manor had been the home of the Blackthorn family, but after the mysterious death of its last heir, Lucinda Blackthorn, it was abandoned. Some said the house was alive, watching, waiting for the next soul to wander in. James didn't believe in ghosts, but the letter intrigued him. He knew the stories, but as a local journalist, he was always looking for a good story. Maybe there was something to uncover, a forgotten truth behind the rumors. James knew he couldn't go alone, so he reached out to two of his close friends, Sarah and Mark, both of whom had an interest in local history and mysteries. They agreed to join him, though Sarah was reluctant. This isn't a simple abandoned house, James, she warned. People have disappeared. I don't think it's worth the risk. Mark, more adventurous, was the first to agree. Come on, it'll be an adventure. Besides, we'll stick together. Nothing will happen. But even Mark, usually fearless, couldn't hide the tension in his voice when they made plans to visit that very night. They agreed to meet at James' place, and from there they would drive to Blackthorn Manor. As they drove through the winding, empty roads, the atmosphere grew heavier. The trees that lined the way seemed to close in, their branches swaying unnaturally in the wind, casting long shadows across the road. The mansion loomed in the distance, barely visible in the fog that had settled like a blanket. Just get us there safely, James, Sarah said, her voice tense. I don't know about this. James didn't respond. He could feel the weight of the silence around them, the eerie feeling that something wasn't right. They arrived at Blackthorn Manor, the towering structure casting a long shadow over the surrounding landscape. The mansion stood as if it were alive, its dark windows staring down at them like eyes. This is where it all ends, Mark joked, but his nervous laugh didn't hide his unease. The group stood at the front door, which creaked loudly as James pushed it open. A blast of cold air hit them as they entered, and the smell of decay filled their noses. The air was thick, as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting. The front hall was dark, with only the dim light from their flashlights cutting through the gloom. All right, let's make this quick, Sarah muttered, her eyes darting around. We're just here for answers, right? James nodded, but something about the house felt wrong, unnervingly wrong. The wooden floorboards groaned under their feet, the air colder than it should be. Shadows seemed to move just out of the corner of their eyes, and every creak and groan of the house made the hairs on the back of their necks stand on end. Let's split up, James suggested, trying to sound confident. We'll cover more ground this way. I don't like this idea, Sarah said immediately, her voice sharp. I really don't. Mark, already moving forward, waved her off. It'll be fine. I'll stick with Sarah. You go upstairs. James made his way up the grand staircase, the banister cold beneath his fingers. As he reached the top, he heard a soft whisper, like a voice carried on the wind. Leave now, it said, the sound faint but distinct. He paused, his breath catching in his chest. What was that? He muttered to himself, turning quickly to look around. But there was nothing. The house felt like it was closing in on him. The silence grew heavier with each step he took, the weight of something unseen pressing against him. He turned the corner into a long, dark hallway lined with faded portraits of the Blackthorn family. Their eyes followed him as he walked, and the feeling of being watched intensified. Just the house settling, James whispered, trying to calm himself. But the whisper came again, louder this time, echoing through the hallway. Go back, it's too late. At the same moment, upstairs, James heard a door slam behind him. He turned around, heart pounding, but saw nothing. The whispers were louder now, echoing in his ears. You shouldn't have come, James. You are part of us now. The air turned ice cold, and James felt the walls closing in on him. His flashlight flickered and went out. He reached for his phone, but it was dead. Panic began to set in. He sprinted down the hallway, but every direction seemed to lead him back to the same spot, like the house itself was shifting. Down in the basement, Mark and Sarah were frozen in terror, staring at the face in the mirror. The glass began to distort, and a hand, pale and bony, reached out from the surface. "Get out now!" Sarah screamed, but it was too late. The door slammed shut, trapping them in the basement. The house was alive, and it was not going to let them leave. The next morning, the police arrived to investigate the missing persons report. They found the front door wide open, the house silent. Inside, the rooms were empty, except for a single broken mirror in the basement. James, Sarah, and Mark were never found. The house still stands, waiting for its next visitors. The people of the village know better than to approach it. Sometimes, when the wind is just right, you can hear faint whispers, warning anyone who dares to listen. The house is watching. The curse is alive, and it will claim whoever steps inside.